Guys, if I told you that a Felicia video is going viral, you would say normal. But now I'm telling you, it comes from a channel that has only one video. He literally posted 14 hours ago and already his video is going viral. And if things continue like this, it's gonna get monetized today. Crazy. ESC Blue, his first video. He's from Sweden. He has to have like experience doing this because the video looked amazing and I would not have found it if YouTube did not suggest this one to me. Yes. And it's kind of crazy. It goes to show that I watch Felicia entry a lot, so I might be the first to react to this, but it's gonna be exciting. The girl that saved Swedish Eurovision. No, I know why I remember this, because in the thumbnail it was the 2010 entry, the girl, the blonde girl, that was like, okay. He's gonna talk about that. She probably saved Swedish Eurovision because after that they were like, now we need to regroup and rethink what we're gonna send to Eurovision, I guess. So anyway, I'm speaking a lot.
Sweden, the country known for jury points, Minecraft, and for having the least obnoxious English accent. And of course also the country that's currently tied for having the most Eurovision wins alongside Ireland. However, it wasn't always like this, and in order to understand Sweden's success today, we need to dive into the history of when it used to look the exact opposite way. Talking 3 consecutive bottom placements, eventually culminating in the historic events of 2010. But before we get into it, I just wanted to say that this is my first ever video on this channel, so if by the end of it you have any feedback, whether negative or positive, I'd be super thankful.
He said on this channel, so this guy have experience.
If you left me a comment, so I know what to improve for the next one. Anyways, guys, here's the story of Sweden's first ever.
Damn, people love him in the comment.
So in order to get the full picture of Sweden's place in the contest around this time, we need to dive into the dark years of 2007 to 2009. And these are dark for several reasons. In 2007, hype for Melodifestivalen, the Swedish selection for Eurovision, was at an all-time high because SVT had announced that basically the biggest band in Scandinavia at the time, The Ark, was among the lineup. These guys had basically dominated the Swedish and surprisingly Italian charts for most of the early 2000s. So to no one's surprise, they landslided the televote and went to Eurovision in Helsinki later that year, where they finished.
They did not win the televote. It's Mans Zimmerlo that won the televote. No? Karamia, was it Mans Zimmerlo? Unless I'm crazy. He won the televote. Titarna. Karamia is Mans, right?
And went to Eurovision in Helsinki later that year, where they finished 18th. Bruh. Getting 12 points from Denmark and Norway, which the crowd booed.
Sweden!
That's when 12 points! And a decent vote from the UK, where they had been touring the year before. The disappointment was immense, and the Ark basically rage quit the contest without even attending the after party. And the Swedish public and media were of course very disappointed that our biggest band had flopped that hard with the European public. But surely things would change in 2008, when it was revealed that former Eurovision winner Charlotte Perrelli was among the lineup. Her song Hero became an instant smash hit in Sweden. However, things started looking a bit concerning when in the final of Melodifestivalen she didn't win the televote and looked pissed.
Again?
Of Melodifestivalen,
what is Lay Your Love on Me?
She didn't win the televote.
Oh no, it's the third one.
When in the final of Melodifestivalen she didn't win.
What is Hero?
The televote and looked pissed about it. However, she landslided the jury vote and thus got to go to Belgrade to represent Sweden later that year, where she jury vote.
Empty Room, is it Sanna Nilsson? I'm trying to remember. Yes, I love this one.
And thus got to go to Belgrade to represent Sweden later that year, where she.
It's not fair to say like, she won because Titi knew her. People knew Sanna Nilsson too. She had like tried to go to Eurovision like a million times already. To be fair, she never went to Eurovision, so she was less known, I guess, than
finished
her.
18th. On top of that, it turned out she wouldn't even have made the finals if it wasn't for a wildcard rule that was in place at the time. The meltdown was real, and Swedish people were once again wondering how we could be so off in sending a song that we loved, but nobody else in Europe really got the hang of. And then comes 2009, which in my opinion was the strongest year of Melodifestivalen in all of the 2000s. Basically all songs competing had been either a #1 or #2 hit on the Swedish charts before the final, and there were many big and exciting names among the lineup. The trophy went to what was perhaps considered the biggest standout of the lineup. The trophy went to what was perhaps
Baby Goodbye, La Voix.
Considered the biggest
Oh no, just tell me, is that the operatic girl?
standout of the selection? An opera, Eurodance, fusion
This was terrible. I
type of
remember
song
this.
by Greta Thunberg's mom, mind you. The song was an instant hit in Sweden, but when time came for Eurovision in Moscow, she finished not 18th, but 21st.
Hur fan i satans jävla...
The salt was now very real, and Swedish attitudes toward Eurovision were starting to shift. It was a bit similar to how we feel about our
Nah, that bullshit. The 3 songs that they just did, 2008, 7, 8, 9, they were not good. I know them. These songs, they were not good songs, to be honest.
Nowadays. It's still a central part of Swedish culture and a lot of people watch it, but everyone's like, damn, we're kind of shit at this, aren't we? And that brings us to 2010, the year that Swedish people don't really like to talk about, at least in Eurovision.
This Is My Life? Is that the song? What is the name of the
So
girl
even
again?
though Swedish attitudes toward Eurovision were lukewarm, to say the least, the lineup of people looking to represent Sweden in 2010 was surprisingly strong. You had upcoming girl idol Erik Saade, one of Sweden's biggest musical artists in Peter Jöback, and of course indie multi-talent Salem Al Fakir, who at this point was perhaps most known for being the brother of a
Oh wow, this guy was so good.
children's TV show host. The
On
results
the piano.
from the heats of Melodifestivalen were quite predictable. All of the pre-contest favorites sailed through to the final until something quite strange happened in the 4th and final heat. An 18-year-old girl won her heat with a soft guitar ballad called This Is My Life. Cool title. And that girl was of course Anna Bergendahl. And what happened in the days after her heat was actually kind of strange if you ask me. The song became a #1 hit on the Swedish charts, and the momentum Anna got was really kind of unprecedented, especially since, in my opinion, the song itself wasn't perhaps anything groundbreaking in terms of melody or arrangement.
Because it's a song for Spotify, but it's not a song for Eurovision. Like, it's not what people want to see. It needs to be more global than that. Like, people will like outside of the Eurovision, you know?
But what I will say is that it was very much in line with what was popular on the radio back then. Girl with guitar was the shit back in 2010. And overall, people really liked Anna, and that momentum would stay with her all the way until the final, where she was by far the bookie's favorite. Now, because of the underwhelming results in the years prior, SVT had introduced an international jury vote to balance things out, and of course increase the chances we would pick a song that would actually work in Europe. However, the international jury were only given half the points of the total jury vote, with the rest being made up of local Swedish juries, just for the sake of making things difficult, I suppose. The final went through smoothly, but when voting started, this international jury would actually be a big cause of concern for the eventual result. See, the international jury's landslide winner was actually Salem Al Fakir with 40.
Yeah, this was obvious. This guy was incredible. Was unbelievable.
Points, whereas Anna got only 28. Keep that in mind. The Swedish juries, on the other hand, boosted Anna into second place by giving her a whopping 54 points. And even though Salem was the jury winner overall, the lead was now Finn, and when the televotes were announced, he placed 3rd, being beaten by Erik Saade in 2nd, and of course
Melodi nummer 9! This is my life! med Anna Bergendahl!
Wow.
So, despite getting a very
This was the Man Boy, right? From Ringside. Man Boy. And then this guy, the guy on the piano should have won, like.
results from the international juries, Anna ended up winning Melodifestivalen and going to Eurovision in Oslo later that year, where, mind you, there are only other European countries voting. That being said, she was doing surprisingly well with the bookmakers heading into the contest. Betting on Sweden making the final only gave you 1.15 times the money.
Her winning remind me of Marcus and Martinus winning. They were okay.
And overall, Sweden was actually the 6th biggest favorite to win the whole contest. I'm not joking. Anna performed fairly early in the running order of the second semi-final, and the performance was, in my opinion, actually really good. SVT pulled the same light stick trick for the staging that they did in Melodifestivalen, which was actually something quite new for Eurovision at the time, and the vocal performance was crisp clean. However, as time for the qualifiers announcement came around, shit hit the fan really quickly. Some countries that were basically ruled out of qualifying, like Ireland and Cyprus, were sent through fairly early, and as time for the last qualifiers announcement came around, one of the other big favorites, Denmark, had still not been announced either. As for what happened next, I'll just show you the reaction of the Swedish commentators.
Den 10:e som går till final är Danmark. Ja, Sverige. Det här är ju fruktansvärt får man säga.
So as you can imagine, the reaction among the Swedish public to this result was not great. The tabloids were absolutely flooded with World War III level headlines about the non-qualification.
Nah.
People on social media were spewing toxic comments, and the view
Nah. 15 years later, we have to be honest, it's a good thing that none of these songs did well, to be honest, because after that there was an explosion of talent from Sweden,
viewership
honestly.
for the Eurovision final plummeted to an all-time low. 3 years of crap results, including with some of our biggest artists, now being followed up by a non-qualification was simply too much. Some music and media critics even started calling for Sweden to withdraw from the contest or for SVT to sell Melodifestivalen to a private broadcaster. Shit had hit the fan big time, and SVT were in full panic mode. But all of that drama does kind of fade when you start thinking about the main person of the story and how it affected her. Almost immediately after the final, a journalist at NRK, Norway's state broadcaster mind you, published a video of Anna crying immediately following the results. Now, I usually don't come after journalists for creating spicy content, but come on, publishing a video like that on the same day as the semi-final with a clickbait title. She was 18 and just had her first international performance. Jeez, man. And as you can imagine, this did take a huge toll on this 18-year-old girl. While most public discourse centered around whether we should fire Christer Björkman or rework Melodifestivalen, there were some people that actually came after Anna herself, which is completely unacceptable.
Nah, this
She
is
did
ridiculous.
still win the public vote in Melodifestivalen and touched many people.
Look, she was not ready, to be honest. She was too young. She would have done well like 5 years later. Just like Felicia, right? Just like Felicia right now is in her early 20s. She's ready. If they had sent Felicia a few years ago when she was in Frozen Snusk, she was not ready. She was not ready at this time. But going after her is stupid.
People with her song.
People voted for her, so you can't blame yourself if you're not happy, you know?
That wasn't much of a consolation for her though, since in the years after the contest she started focusing less and less on music until completely withdrawing from the Swedish music scene
That's
in
fine.
2014.
Music is not the end of the world, you know?
So in this video, we've talked about the darkest years of Swedish Eurovision history and how we got lackluster results basically every year from 2007 to 2010. But if you're a fan of this contest, you may also know that this was the time when things changed for Sweden entirely. In 2011, the rules of Melodifestivalen were completely reworked. A new song selection process was put in place, the Swedish juries were abolished, and the fixed televote system was replaced by a proportional televote system. Anything to make sure whatever we sent would actually work in Europe. And these changes instantly gave results, with Sweden coming third in 2011 thanks to a guy rhyming possible with impossible. And I don't really think I need to remind you what happened in 2012 or the years after that. As for the main person of this story, Anna, she stayed out of the music business for most of the mid to late 2010s, instead studying to become a doctor. Like,
Good
damn,
for her.
This girl has both brains and musical talent.
Look, music career is not long for most artists, even the artists that do well on Eurovision. To be honest, most of the artists that win Eurovision, they are still unknown outside of their country, to be honest. So,
but she did, of course, eventually make a comeback in 2019 with a song that was by far one of my favorites that year. She has since been combining her work as a medical doctor with her passion of singing and songwriting, even entering the competition a couple more times after that. So in the end, you can really say that she came out as a winner from all of this anyways, although I really wish she would have never had to suffer those dark years after Eurovision. And for better or worse, you could also argue that it's thanks to her taking a blow for the team that Swedish Eurovision is where it's at today, although there wasn't anything wrong with her song to begin with. Which reminds me, it's pretty ironic that people talk about Sweden being overrated in the juries nowadays, when in 2010 it was actually because of the juries that we didn't qualify. Yes, Anna did actually finish 9th with the televote on that night. Anyways guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you want...
Do you know what's interesting about the new system in Sweden is that there's people that complain now. Because you have a system where even people that are like 8 years old can vote. And I think in the last Melodifestivalen, I think Grace Kula got second place. But if we count the total amount of vote, I think Medina was the second place. So I think that the system where, I mean, it's a good system. I don't know how much better than that it can be, to be honest. But there's more people in a certain demographic that vote, but they get less power, which I think it's fair. I mean, I don't know how else to do it. If you compare what you guys do in Sweden to vote, compared to every single country, I think it's probably the fairest. And if we look at like, except Marcus and Martinus, I think everyone else that went to Eurovision, I think it was fair. Because the year that Barabas 2 won, if it had been 15 years ago, you guys would have sent Man Zimmerlo, you know? So you guys are evolving. I think what I would change is mostly how the EAT work. I think the voting system of the EAT is a little bit weird. How to decide which 6 artists to put in the EAT, and the voting system for the wild card after that. To me, it's too complicated, so I would make it more simple. But yeah, very interesting video. For a first video, this is great. Great. I hope you do this for other countries too. This is nice. Thank you for watching, everyone.